Sekou Toure, president of Ghana, described a certain form of seasoning called the science of dehumanization. It is the process of indoctrinating you against yourself by denying eternal development for external reward. African American men specifically, whose poor communication skills, decline in academic interest, and weak emotional development may be linked to the male seasoning process. What is a man? Goldberg, in his book, quote, Hazards of Being Male, unquote, writes that a man is an independent, strong achiever who can be counted on to be always in control. His success in the working world is predicated on the repression of self, the display of control, deliberate, calculated, manipulated responses. The man who fails becomes inefficient because he gets emotionally involved, and this inevitably slows him down and distracts him. His more dehumanized competition will then surely pass him by. Let's be clear, y'all. There has been much debate over the last decade concerning the significance of a biological and sociological factors in the male development. Genetically, males have the X and Y chromosomes, while females have the X chromosome. Males have the hormone testosterone, while the female hormone is estrogen. Chemical makeup of the male body is 40% muscle, 15% fat. A woman's body is 23% muscle and 25% fat. Some researchers use these differences to explain why men are more aggressive and excel in math and why women are more passive and excel in communication. Researchers believe testosterone increases aggression in males, and I do not deny this possibility. Honest researchers must admit that our sexist environment has clearly prescribed roles for men and women which perpetuate the gender stereotypes. African Americans perform at a lower level than their female counterparts. Is this because they have testosterone, which produces aggression? Boys learn very early that disagreements can be settled with fists, while male-dominant governments clarify their disagreements with other nations by means of war. The notion exists that Europeans, and specifically men, are more left-brain oriented, and people of color, specifically women, are more right-brain oriented. The myth becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy if parents, teachers, counselors, and the mass media provide the reinforcement. Not only that, the myths that African Americans are lazy, lack intuitive, are super sexy, love to dance, sing, and play basketball become self-fulfilling if role models and encouragement are not provided in other areas by the parents, educators, and community advocates. Parents often perpetuate male seasoning by patterning their household to fit the sexist mold. Female parents, who are well aware of the lack of male support, can often be found rearing their male child with few household responsibilities required. Many boys continue to reach manhood with little skill and less interest in cooking and cleaning. Parents, educators, and community advocates do little to reinforce the male child who has interest in the fine arts, religion, and reading. Some mothers demand less academic achievement, maturity, and household chores from their sons than their daughters. Boys are also allowed later street hours, more sexual permission, and more athletic pursuits than their female counterparts. It is very difficult to be economically, emotionally, and domestically self-sufficient. Academic mediocrity, non-attendance at spiritual activity, minimum intimate communication, and exemption from the household tasks are condoned. The difference in child rearing practices for sons and daughters has important implications for adult male-female relationships. Men may enter relationships with fewer academic, economic, emotional, and domestic skills. They may expect women to love them unconditionally and to be loyal to them as their mothers are. Women who saw their mothers do everything with a man will be aggressive and more academically accomplished, as well as emotionally and domestically self-sufficient. A woman would love for her man to demonstrate these qualities, but because of the way she has been erased as opposed to the male track record, she often feels that it is in her best interest to keep little money on the side just in case. Have we reached a point where men and women can no longer talk to each other with warmth and admiration? A recent article in a feminist magazine said that men listen less to women than each other, and women have a better chance for a conversation if they discuss what men initiate or if they talk to other women. Men seem to be blocked when they try to relate to each other. Some say that the reason for that is that they are not comfortable sharing their downsides, their failures, anxieties, and disappointments. Perhaps they fear being seen as weak, complaining losers, or crybabies, a perception that threatens their masculine images. Nor do they seem to feel comfortable sharing their ecstasy or successes for fear of inciting competitive jealousness or appearing boastful. Consequently, verbal social interactions between men focus on neutral, larger, and personal subject matter such as automobiles, sports, and politics. Goldberg explains why being a male can be hazardous to your health, unquote. When a man's self is hidden from everyone else, it seems also to become much hidden even from himself, and it permits disease and death to gall into his substance without his clear knowledge. Some even speculate that autism, the severest form of child schizophrenia, runs 3 to 4 times as high for boys. Interestingly enough, mental hospital units for children, boys outnumber girls by approximately 150%, y'all. Under the age of 15, males are diagnosed as schizophrenic 42% more frequently than girls. From birth to death, the male mortality rate is significantly higher. From birth to age 1, the male death rate is 33% higher. From age 15 through 19, the male death rate is more than 150% higher. From age 20 to 24, the male death rate is 200% higher. And at almost all age levels after that, the male death rate is about 100% higher or twice as high as that of females. Let's be clear, it is equally unfortunate that African American men take their example of manhood from white men. Some African American men wish to dominate their woman as Europeans dominate theirs, but because they do not hire nor fire and do not control the means of production, they become aspiring chauvinists. African American men, European men, are taught to be aggressive, to not cry, show little emotion and affection towards male children, ignore symptoms of ill health, and continue to bring home the money. African American men, adult unemployment hovers at 25%, and teenage unemployment is soaring to 75%, with a strong possibility that some will never work. Is there any worse conspiracy than miseducation of the African American boys so they will never compete in economy? Libau in Tally's Corner says, quote, "The way in which the man makes a living and the kind of living he makes have important consequences for how the man sees himself and it is seen by others. And these, in turn, importantly, shape his relationship with family members, lovers, friends, and neighbors. Making a living takes on an overriding importance of marriage. Although he wants to get married, he hedges his commitment from the very beginning because he is afraid not of marriage itself, but of his own ability to carry out his responsibilities as a husband and father. His own father failed, and the men he knows who have been or married have also failed or are in the process of doing so. He has no evidence that he will not. The black menial worker remains a menial worker so that after 1, 2, 3 years of marriage and many children, the man could not support his family from the very beginning and even less able to support it as time goes on. The longer he works, the longer he is unable to live on what he makes. Sometimes he sits down and cries at the humiliation of it all. Sometimes he strikes out at her or their children with his fists, perhaps to lay hollow claim to being man of the house and the one way left open to him, or perhaps simply to inflict pain on his woman who bears witness to his failure as a husband and a father and therefore a man. Increasingly, he turns to the street corner where a shadow system of value is constructed out of public fiction. Johns Hopkins Research Center reported for every 1% increase in mental patients, a 4.1% increases in seppuku, a 5.7% increases in transcendence, and a 4.0% increase in prisoners. What's very interesting is the leading killers of African American men are heart disease, cancer, homicide, accidents, and seppuku. 12 African American boys outnumber African American girls 1.03 to 1.0 at birth, but upon reaching their 18th birthday, women outnumber men 1.8 to 1.0. The life expectancy of an African American man is 65, a European man is 73, an African American woman is 75, and a European woman is 79. African American men die before anybody else, y'all. European women live 12 years longer. What's also very interesting is that African American women spend the last 10 years of their lives without their men, if their men are even at home. Some even speculate that men returning home from work or never going, or sitting in a rocking chair with a beer all evening, never fully sharing with their spouse or children how they feel, they are at risk of illness, depression, and death. Men have become slaves to bringing home the money and letting women bring home the emotion. It has often been said that being a man in America is very difficult. So when it all comes down to it, I strongly advocate that we redefine manhood. How can we build strong families and nations with a group of people who have not developed themselves internally? I believe manhood may be best expressed by telling your wife, "I appreciate you," or even bringing your son to your chest and telling your brothers when you are hurting and need their help. Isn't it interesting that as our youth become older, they spend more time together while their involvement with most adults declines? And for my last point, some even speculate that the debates become heated when other researchers point to society's role in encouraging aggression in math and boys and passivity in communication in girls. Ultimately, we must show you that life is not all about money, y'all. It's about finding something that you enjoy so much you are willing to do it for free. But because you do it so well, you get paid for it. And if you didn't know, now you know, Niji. I hope y'all understand that this information is given to y'all because there is a conspiracy to destroy the black boy that will soon grow to be the destroyed black man. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments. Do y'all feel as though African American men have it a little bit or a lot of bit way harder than most average people? Not only that, do y'all feel that if the roles were switched, that there would be a different outcome? And for all my melanin men, this should be able to let you know that we gotta do better eternally. We gotta do better for our families. We gotta do better for ourselves. We can't hold things in because it literally deteriorates our body when we can't express ourselves and let people know how we really feel. I ain't gonna do too much. If you function with me on a monthly, daily, weekly basis, you already understand that clear eyes always recognize real lies. And like always, I'm always gonna have more videos. Until next time, as I always like to express in all my other videos, I am not here to turn non-believers into believers. I'm only here to bring y'all food for thought. And with that being said, that part, why though?
Michael and I also want to acknowledge
I mean, this dude is a genius.